And time now for our PIX panel. Joining me this week, PIX 11 political reporter back with us, Henry Rosoff, and host of the Max Politics podcast, Ben Max. So thank you both for being here. So let's talk about this, because we learned more, guys, about the FBI raid on the top fundraiser from Eric Adams in a question and answer session with local media. I was there. He admitted to hiring this personal attorney, right? But he denies any wrongdoing. Let me begin with you, Henry, here. It seems that this is going to be a bit of a snafu or a snag in his re-election campaign, and this is not going to go away anytime soon.
Yeah, I think this doesn't come down to threatening him to leave office or any sort of investigation from that standpoint as it stands now, although we'll see as this thing unfolds. This really comes down to the election politics. Does this motivate the progressives or even another moderate to hop into this race, begin raising money in earnest, and really kick off another primary cycle? That's the big question that's coming out of all of this. Now, I caveat that by saying if the FBI starts directly targeting him, then we've got a whole nother animal on our hands. But that doesn't appear to be the case at this moment.
Right, but it's interesting because he hired the personal attorney besides his corporate counsel for City Hall. And that brings us to talking about the re-election campaign. Ben, I want to ask you about this piece you recently wrote for New York Magazine. Henry just alluded to the potential primary, right? Mayor Adams will likely face a Democratic challenge in a primary in 2025, but it seems the party is really having this difficult time finding a consensus among who or what progressive or what left person they're going to choose. What do you know?
Well, in some instances, you could argue that it's a little bit early, and then other people think, it's actually getting to be time for people to really make their intentions known. The June 2025 primary is a year and a half away. It's not that long away, and the mayor clearly has some big advantages going into re-election. So right now, the broader left, the liberal to progressive left, is really struggling to figure out who might be the standard bearer and actually take Adams on from that broader left. Progressives know they can't just have a far left candidate and beat Adams one-on-one. So they know they need sort of a bigger tent liberal left candidate to try to take on the more centrist mayor, and they're struggling to figure out who that could be.
Okay, so who are the names?
Well, Jessica Ramos, who we had on our show not too long ago.
Right, she said she was thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, you also had Yoonli Nu, who ran for New York District 10, who's been talked about but has been fairly public in her social media that she's not particularly interested in it. But all of these are relatively far left, super progressive, so they're not the sort of big tent candidates that Ben's necessarily talking about.
Yeah, Ben, who do you, Zellner Myrie, right, state senator?
State Senator Zellner Myrie could be someone that could unite the broader left, but running a state senator from a small district is a very big uphill challenge, and that's got a lot of challenges too. Listen, the two people that progressives want to recruit are Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso and potentially Comptroller Brad Lander, and both are unlikely to give up their seats to run at this point.
And I asked Antonio Reynoso point blank, do you want to be mayor? And he kind of sidestepped the question, didn't say no, didn't say yes, which is what they're all kind of doing right now, to be continued. Let's move on to the other big story of the week, which is the civil fraud trial against former President Donald Trump, right? The defense set to present its case starting tomorrow. Henry, you've been at the court almost every single day for this. Let's talk about what we can expect moving into next week now that it's their side.
Well, a complete opposite argument, and I don't say that just because they're on the defensive side. They're recalling as their first witness Donald Trump Jr. and essentially going to get him to say that, the family wasn't directly involved in evaluating assets. Remember, this all comes down to how things were priced to allegedly deceive banks and insurance companies. And he's going to state the case that we weren't that involved, and hey, all the properties are worth more anyway, which is some variation of what we heard from his father, the former president, from Eric Trump, and from Ivanka Trump. We essentially heard a bunch of I don't knows, which is fair because an appellate division judge has said, you don't know so much that you can be dismissed from this case. So it's not exactly disingenuous for her to say that.
Yeah, all of this, Ben, of course, happening at a time when we are in, once again, an election cycle. And so the question here, Ben, is at all, when you look at the poll numbers, it's not at all affecting former President Donald Trump. His numbers are going up, even though he's skipping out on the debates.
Yeah, there's some real interesting data here. I don't expect Trump, unless he's convicted on multiple counts in a variety of these cases, to lose Republican support as much. But the most interesting thing right now is what's happening with independents and maybe some conservative Democrats who seem interested in Trump for another term is fascinating at this point.
Okay, let me ask you this. We're talking about whether or not it's too early for people to run against Mayor Eric Adams or announce. In New Jersey, they don't seem to really care what year it is, and a lot of people are announcing early, right? We have Steve Fulop, the Jersey City mayor, announcing he's running for governor. Remember, that's 2 years away. And now we have Jim McGreevey, who is a Jersey City resident, former governor, who had to resign in scandal, saying, I'm going to be running for mayor of Jersey City.
Yeah.
What's with the early announcements in New Jersey?
I don't know, Dan. You live there. We also have Bill O'Day, county commissioner from Hudson County, who is poised to announce within 10 days. He told me point blank, I'm not really making news here or anything like that. So I think they're just getting in, making the connections, feeling it out. You do have to remember, for that particular race, Jersey City mayor, nonpartisan race.
Right.
So you really got to build that big, broad coalition, and it's a once-in-a-generation thing. I mean, Mayor Fulop served for, it'll be 12 years by the time he's done, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of times these mayors serve for longer than that. So these are coveted positions, so that may explain to some extent why people are getting in early.
Yeah, and Stephen Fulop and Jim McGreevy's going to be on the show next week. Steve Fulop said, hey, I'm doing it early because I want my name to be first out there before everybody else. Yeah. Ben, Henry, great to have both of you here. We're going to leave it there, and we will see you next time, and we'll be right back, everybody.